to get to the topic, we sort of have to go back in time a little bit and talk about some issues that affect technology development over long periods of time. So we're going to go right back to this. All right, when the wheel was first invented, it went through several phases, like most inventions do. In fact, any really important invention can be compared to this. In fact, an entire epoch of inventing can be following these same phases that it goes through. At first is novel and unfamiliar, and then it becomes accepted. And then it goes through a process of developing an entire industry around it. Eventually it becomes standardized to the point where they pretty much all work the same. And then it becomes commoditized to the point where it doesn't matter where you buy it. And then you pretty much have a wheel is a wheel is a wheel is a wheel is a wheel. Lots of other inventions follow that same sort of pattern. In fact, what brand of light bulb do you prefer to use? Any of you? Yeah, well, I don't know. Glenn, I'm going to put you on the spot. What brand of nails does Glenn Heslop use?
The brandless thing.
I don't know. How about Mark? Where did Mark go? Yes? Who makes the glass that's in your windows at your house?
No idea.
No, we have no idea. These are commodities. These are important inventions which are now commodities. So when I talk about the commoditization of technology, this is what I mean. Glass is glass, nails are nails, light bulbs are light bulbs. There's no distinction. They're built to standards. You buy them from wherever you can get them the cheapest. The entire mechanical age has been commoditized, beginning with the lever, first mechanical invention, okay, right up to the wheel, and then the geared toothed wheel, water pumps and grain mills, and every important invention in the mechanical age has eventually become commoditized. Engines, all right, vehicles and vessels of all kinds, ships of the sea, rockets in space, and everything mechanical that we've made, they solve problems first. And then quite often we move on to something else. So the mechanical age has become commoditized to the point where it's no longer really enough. It's not enough now to have mechanical devices solving the problems that are important. So I'll take a few examples for you. Let's take the example of timekeeping. Mechanical clocks. When we first solved the problem of being able to measure time accurately without resorting to astronomy, it solved major problems in industry and science, in banking and commerce, in manufacturing, in travel, in navigation, you name it. It was a major, major, major breakthrough in technology. And it was done using a completely mechanical device. And in fact, mechanical timekeeping devices became quite sophisticated. Not this one, of course, it's a cheap piece of junk. But timekeeping became very sophisticated. Mechanical timekeeping. Where is it now? Curiosities, collector's items, museum pieces, hobbies. We don't use mechanical timekeeping anymore. Why not? What happened? Wasn't it good enough? Was it not invented well enough? Is there something wrong with it? Well, there's nothing wrong with mechanical timekeeping. But what happened? The electronic age happened. Because even the cheapest $2 digital plastic watch is more accurate and more reliable than the most expensive mechanical wind-up watch that you can buy, like this one, for $690,000. Know what I want for Christmas. This is more than most of our homes cost. And yet, these work better. They're $2 each or something like that. So the electronic age made mechanical timekeeping wonderful, beautiful, but completely obsolete. And not only that, the electronic age, with the ability to communicate over large distances, made accurate timekeeping devices unnecessary, because you could have a standardized time base that could be transmitted over great distances, and you could have accurate time anywhere without a clock, without a watch, without even a cheap digital watch. You didn't even need that anymore. And as if that were not enough to bury mechanical timekeeping forever, the computer age happened. And now, you see, a computer is the most flexible device there is. It can change from one thing to another thing just by changing the software. You put in new software, it becomes a new machine with new features and new functions. You can't do that with gears and levers. You can't flip from that to that and back again at the flick of a switch. That just doesn't work. You can't go from here to here with anything but a computer. A computer can do that just fine. But a mechanical clock, you can't do that. The other thing is that this watch and this clock do exactly the same thing, and they have no parts in common at all. There's nothing in here that's the same part that's in there. There are no interchangeable parts in that. In fact, you can't even take them to the same shop for repairs. It doesn't work. The only difference, though, between this watch and this digital clock is the external packaging that they're put into. It's the same chip inside. It's the same software inside. It's exactly the same, just a different package. Now that is standardization. Mechanical devices could never do that. And so we no longer use them because we no longer need them. In fact, your mobile phone has a built-in clock, and it's so accurate you wouldn't have to fiddle with it for years. And yet it's completely unnecessary because the cell phone, the mobile phone network, keeps your time synchronized. In fact, the GPS system does this also for many devices. Timekeeping is no longer needed because a centralized clock can keep time for us. So that's what happened to mechanical timekeeping. There was nothing wrong with it. It just isn't needed anymore. Let me ask you, though, if we innovated an amazing new way of, a new means of mechanical timekeeping, would that be a step forward or a step backwards? We'll think about that for a little while. Well, I give us another example. Written communication, printing, the ability to distribute and duplicate knowledge. We used to do this by chipping little marks into pieces of stone or wood or bone. And then we would get pieces of feather quills or even sharp metal nibs and use it to trace lines of colored liquid onto stuff called paper. In fact, I scratched out the rough notes for this talk using an old fountain pen that I have and some 25-year-old ink that I still had somewhere. Now, we found a better way to duplicate, to distribute knowledge, and it was a mechanical device, and it revolutionized the world. It was the Gutenberg printing press. It now became extremely cheap to make as many copies of something as you wanted by just putting as many pieces of paper up against blocks of little bits of lead that each had a letter carved on it in reverse and ink smeared on it and arranged into rows to form words and then sentences and even entire books. And this revolutionized the world. It led to the Reformation. It led to European democracy. It led to globalization, colonization of the world, and eventually to the information age that we're now in. And it was a mechanical device that did it. The Gutenberg printing press. Now the printing press was improved over time. It became steam powered like this one, or electrically powered, and it was continually improved until we say that the best offset printing machine ever designed. Right there, you see it there, right? That's it. And then we invented the typewriter, a writing machine, a machine for writing that was responsible for standardizing communication in businesses, governments, and individuals, millions of individuals around the world. Incidentally, also responsible for standardizing spelling in most modern languages. You had to know how to spell once you got one of these, otherwise it didn't look right. It really didn't. Where are these things today?
Rubbish too.
Why? Was there something wrong with them? Were they not invented good enough? What happened to mechanical printing and mechanical typewriters? Look, these offset presses like this, I worked on one of these years ago. They are all but vanished. Where are they? And even the big presses that print daily newspapers and books, they are not at full capacity, and a lot of them are in financial difficulty. One of the great achievements of the mechanical age, and what went wrong? Was it not invented well enough in the first place, or did something else happen to it? Something else happened. What happened was the computer age came along, eventually leading to this thing, giving desktop publishing and word processing to billions of people at an incredibly cheap price that no mechanical device could match, with flexibility and reconfigurability that no mechanism could achieve. And it changed the world, because now we could share information and duplicate and replicate knowledge, disseminate and distribute knowledge without any mechanical devices at all. We even got rid of the little mechanical disk drives in there by connecting computers together, first with wires and now with radio frequency and microwave communications. And so we can communicate knowledge without any mechanism, any mechanical device at all. So printing, great achievement of the mechanical age, no longer part of the mechanical sphere. It's gone. Another example is calculating. Adding machines and calculating machines were first mechanical devices like that and that, quickly replaced and wisely replaced with electronic devices, because frankly, who's going to want to try to fix that? And can you imagine how much that would cost to manufacture, and how much that would weigh to ship it somewhere, and how much space it would take up to store in your office, and how long it would last before it just wore out, and how much it would cost to fix it, compared to this, a $4 electronic calculator that never wears out unless you drop it and step on it, and then $4 gets you another one. This does more than that ever could. Basically the same thing though. So what went wrong with mechanical calculating? Was it not invented well enough? Or was there simply another idea that came along? Another great accomplishment of the mechanical age is cryptography. The ability to encode a message so that only your recipient can read it, hopefully. This is an accomplishment of the mechanical age, done mechanically with encoding wheels like this, or spiral things like that, I don't know what they're called, and eventually culminating in the ultimate unbreakable encoding machine, which is
Continuous pen.
the Enigma. Yes. Until, that is, we cracked it. Using what?
Buzz.
Basically using a highly parallelized electromechanical processor, a big mechanical supercomputer called the bomb.
Right.
This one, built in Bletchley Park, called the bomb. This one built in the United States, exactly the same schematic. an electromechanical computing device, highly paralleled, multiprocessor, that simulated the Enigma machine, and you ran all different combinations until you got one that made sense, and that was the cracked code. Today, however, encryption is a commodity of the information age. You just pay a few dollars a month to your internet host provider, and then information that people send you over the internet can only be read by you, period. Unless somebody has unlimited access to a supercomputer, and there's very few governments that can actually crack 128-bit public key encryption. Encryption, another first of the mechanical age. We did it first with a mechanical machine. Now, no longer plays any role in it at all, and it's something that is now a commodity of the information age. Another example, security, mechanical security. We entrust still most of our security to little mechanical gadgets, which you can lock something, give someone else the key, and only that person can open it. That and everyone else who understands how the lock works inside. And so there's been a continual development of more and more sophisticated locks. We now have very sophisticated mechanical locks that use master keys and different levels of authorization. But more and more, we're going to security systems that are based not on mechanical devices, but on information. Information, for example, that you carry in your head, like when you enter a PIN number or a password. Information that you perhaps carry on the card, on a swipe card or an RFID card that lets you into your work. Two good examples of this are your car keys. You don't actually have to put the key in the barrel and turn it to get in your car. You just push this button, and the information in here tells the car's information that, yes, you're authorized, open the door. And then there's an RFID chip in here that communicates with your immobilizer and tells your immobilizer to deactivate. It's security based on information. In fact, more and more workplaces rely on a swipe card or an RFID entry system. And in the future, you'll have more and more homes that you gain access to through an app on your smartphone. And if anyone else tries to get in but you, it calls the police for you, takes their photo, and if possible, even gets a DNA sample. Imagine that world. Another example is communication. It was done first with mechanical devices. This is a semaphore. And then flags, signal flags, or lamps and lanterns, or pulleys and wires, and things like that. Mechanical communication over distance. Eventually superseded by the electronic age, in which we had first signals sent over telegraph wires, and then sound sent over telephone wires. And finally, radio communication over great distances using radio or microwave communication, really arguably the pinnacle, the culmination of the electronic age, the ability to communicate over distance in radio. Mechanisms did it first, but currently we communicate with no mechanical input at all, no mechanical device at all in our means of communication. Not even that rotary dial, not even mechanical push buttons making electrical contacts on a keypad, now that we have phones with touch screens, completely solid state touch screens. There are no mechanical links in the chain at all. It started with mechanisms, mechanical is out, information is now in, and these communication devices are so standardized that we don't even care what brand they are usually. All that matters is the information that flows through them. Now, probably the greatest accomplishment of the mechanical age is the internal combustion engine. And it has survived adaptation by the electronic age and the computer age, and it still exists today. We still rely on it. It's a fairly commoditized thing. They're all pretty much the same. But nowadays, you buy a car, it has an engine in it that works. It works extremely well. It's very efficient and clean and effective and good performance. because it's connected to a little computer. That computer stops, engine stops, end of story. The mechanical engine is under threat. It could soon be replaced entirely by electric motors and batteries. Because the car of the future will have exactly 4 moving parts. Exactly 4 moving parts, and that's it. Not even a steering wheel. You'll have a touchpad console or a motion wand that you drive the car like you would work a video game. And the only way that would work is because the car and the occupants and the road itself and the environment and the motors and the batteries and every component of that car are going to be sharing information with each other continuously to make this car safe enough, effective enough, and performing enough to replace the cars that we use today. But so far, that hasn't happened, and the internal combustion engine has a few more years. But folks, when that does happen, we can officially declare the mechanical age at an end, over, finished. So another invention from the 1800s, 1868 to be exact. Let me ask you, do we need a new bicycle today? If it's not any better than that, we probably don't need it. What do we need in a bicycle today? Well, we have to start thinking now, what can the electronic age and the computer age do to make this better than it was in the past? Well, for one thing, we could think electric drive, because with electric drive, you have flexibility in where you put things that you didn't have before. Think two-wheel drive. You couldn't do that with a chain. Think automatic transmission, infinite number of gear ratios. What will the bicycles of the future be like? The ones that compete, the ones that get top dollar, the ones that are profitable to make, they'll look like this or possibly like this. They'll possibly be electric drive, possibly be electric assisted, possibly be self-powered. And one thing about these bicycles, they are going to be just seething with information technology that's going to be adding value to the customer, to the user, moment by moment. So when we think about the age that we're in, the information age, we really should think information. In fact, one WA inventor, he's not here tonight, but he's found a way for information age technology to supplement and complement very well a very old mechanical age technology, explosives. He's got a system for tracking explosives from the manufacturer to the mine, and sometimes back again if there's a failed detonation, using an RFID chip that identifies every item. That's thinking information. That's finding ways to really offer a value proposition to customers, old and new, that the mechanical device alone couldn't do. Even a mechanical and electronic device alone couldn't do. Even a computer device alone couldn't do. So when we're thinking about inventions, why do we so often fall back on thinking only about mechanical inventions? Is it because it's easy? Now, I don't want to discourage anyone at all. In fact, I want to challenge you, each of you. I want to challenge you in 2012 to invent something for the information age. Think about how any device at all can be enhanced with a value proposition for the consumer, for the customer, that makes that object or product better. It can be anything. This chair, that table, that door. This door, for example. Could the door know for itself whether it should be open or should be closed? Could the door report to you whether it's open, closed, locked, or unlocked? Could the door submit a report on how many times your son has slammed the door in the last week? Or who it was that walked in without wiping their feet the last week when it rained? Information is valuable. something like this table. Could this table tell you if it's overloaded before it breaks? Could it tell you if it is in fact structurally damaged or not? Could it tell you, for example, whether it will fit in that place in your house without you having to get out a tape measure? Could it tell you its dimensions? Could it tell you, for example, who it belongs to or where it went? Where has it been put? It could tell you a lot if it had that information and a way to get it to you. So virtually any item can add value using information. So this year in 2012, invent something and think how anything that you use can offer a real value proposition to the customer and to the user using information. This is the information age, after all. This is an extremely exciting and fabulous time to be alive. And it is a fabulous time to be an inventor. So let's think information and let's invent something. Thank you very much.